Okay, so has anyone else seen the new pictures of Vinicius Jr.? Because I looked at this man's face and genuinely did a double take. New jaw, new chin, completely different vibe, and the internet is losing its mind over it. So today we're breaking down exactly what happened to Vini Jr.'s face, why it happened when it did, and what this whole thing says about the pressure athletes are under to look a certain way, even when their actual job has nothing to do with how they look. Let's get into it. For anyone who doesn't follow football, quick context. Vinicius Jr. is Real Madrid's star winger, Brazil's #1 attacking weapon, one of the most recognizable athletes on the planet. Lightning fast, incredible dribbler, the guy defenders genuinely fear one-on-one. Emphasis on was one of the most recognizable faces in sport, because right now, a lot of people are looking at recent photos and going, wait, is that actually him? So let's lay out the timeline, because the timing here is honestly the most interesting part of this whole story. Brazil just went through the 2026 World Cup, hosted across the US, Mexico, and Canada. Vini was actually excellent throughout the tournament. 4 goals across 5 matches, genuinely one of Brazil's best players out there. But the team got knocked out in the round of 16, losing to Norway. And for a country where football is basically religion, and for a player who's constantly compared to Brazilian legends, an exit that early is a big deal. After the loss, Vini kind of disappeared from public view for a few days, no interviews, no big social media presence, nothing. Which honestly isn't that unusual after a tough tournament exit. But then he resurfaces. He shows up at the opening of a gym owned by his girlfriend, Virginia Fonseca, and photos from that event start circulating. And almost instantly, people online start reacting. Not to what he said, not to the event itself, but to his face. Comments start piling up. Things like, my brain can't process that this is Vini Jr., or he's going to need a new passport because these are 2 different faces. It became one of those moments where the internet just collectively stops and goes, okay, something happened here. So what actually happened? Brazilian outlets reported that Vinicius underwent what's called a chin harmonization procedure. This isn't a surgery in the dramatic sense people might be imagining. It's a non-surgical cosmetic treatment using injectable fillers to sculpt and redefine facial contours, specifically around the jaw and chin. It was done at a clinic in Goiânia, Brazil, by a dermatologist named Dr. Alessandro Alarcão, who actually spoke publicly about it afterward. He described it as a kind of facial naturalization procedure, basically a treatment designed to enhance features while still keeping things looking natural rather than dramatically altered. And to be clear, this is not a facial transplant. It's not reconstructive surgery. It's not anything medically dramatic. It's a filler-based cosmetic procedure that's actually become pretty common among athletes and public figures in general. A lot of professional athletes quietly get similar treatments. The difference here is just how visible the change looked on someone whose face is genuinely one of the most photographed in world sport. Now here's where it gets more interesting than just a footballer got some filler, because the timing is what really caught people's attention. This wasn't some random off-season update. This happened right after a painful World Cup exit, a tournament where Vini had actually performed really well individually, but still went home early with his team. And for years, and I mean years, Vini has dealt with online mockery specifically about his facial features. It's been a recurring thing in comment sections, memes, all of it. So when a procedure like this happens right after a tough emotional moment for him, people naturally start connecting dots. Was this planned for a while and just happened to land after the World Cup? Or was this more of an impulsive decision after elimination, a kind of, I'm taking control of something I can control moment? Nobody except Vini really knows the actual answer, and he hasn't directly addressed the reasoning himself. But that ambiguity is exactly why this story spread the way it did. Photos start comparing his World Cup face to his post-surgery face side by side. His ex-girlfriend Virginia, who fans noted he'd reconciled with around this time, posted photos with him that got even more attention. Friends of his posted videos of him signing jerseys where you can clearly see the more defined jawline. And the comparisons just kept multiplying across social media, which brings up the bigger conversation here, because this isn't really just a story about one footballer and a chin filler. It taps into something a lot of public figures deal with, especially athletes who are constantly on camera, constantly screenshotted, constantly compared and criticized for things that have nothing to do with their actual performance. Vini Jr. is arguably a top 5 most gifted attacking players in the world right now. None of that is about his jawline. But he's also been mocked online for years about his appearance specifically, which is a strange kind of pressure to carry alongside performing at the highest level of professional sport. So, does a procedure like this change anything about how people should view him as a player? Honestly, no, not really. He's still got the same speed, the same dribbling, the same end product that makes him one of the most dangerous wingers in the world, but it does raise a real question worth sitting with, which is how much pressure athletes face just around image and appearance, completely separate from what they actually do for a living. So I want to know what you think. Is this just a normal cosmetic choice that a lot of people make and it's simply none of our business? Or does the timing right after that World Cup exit say something more about the pressure he's been under? Drop your take in the comments. I'm genuinely curious how people are reading this one. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit subscribe. There's a lot more of these coming, and I will see you in the next